Yeah, I was hurt on the job. I lost my arm clear up to there. I injured myself by myself. Can't blame anyone. I didn't step on anything. I didn't slip. I didn't trip. I didn't fall on anything. I lifted a guy wrong.
Gol darn it, I fell and hurt myself, and now I'm nothing but a grouch, they say.
This here is also it's a nerve disease. And this affects your central nervous system, and consequently your emotions become involved in this too.
When I first got home, I was a nervous wreck. I would shake constantly.
I blamed my brother about the whole thing. Why me? But I figure now this is the way it is, and I might as well make the best of it.
I was hurt in a state institution. It's not what you would ordinarily think that would come under workman's comp, but it did. It took a little doing on my part. It wasn't easy.
You can't get anything without fighting for it.
Wyoming's workman compensation won't send me to school because I'm here in Michigan. Michigan's vocational rehabilitation program won't send me to school or give me any training because I got hurt in Wyoming and I want to move back to Wyoming after I've been rehabilitated. And Social Security just flat won't help me. I wasn't considered disabled because they figured that I could do gainful work, and their idea of gainful work is anything. Working at McDonald's for 4 hours a day. My idea of gainful employment is going to a job where you can learn and progress and make as much money at that job as what you were making on your disability or what you were making before you were hurt.
I don't think Mother got any compensation, any checks at all for at least 6 weeks or more after I was hurt. And they were very small when she did get them, around $20, $22 a week. I think kids was the ones that got the rough go on that. Can you remember back then, Jerry?
Yeah, I can remember Mother. There was no money. Today, workman's comp is a lot better. I think myself, the last time I was hurt, I got right around $200 a week, which is not near as much as I'd normally make, but a fellow can live real good on $200 a week.
On $115 a week, which is the maximum allowable to me under Michigan law, there isn't much to do.
It's something the state of North Dakota did, whereas I don't think they do it in all other states, is they paid me my complete wage.
$13.75 a week, down to $700 for 2 weeks. I knew I had to get out of Alaska.
Workers' comp and MSU's been taking care of me pretty good. They've paid for all my medical expenses. And my rehabilitation, I went out to Denver, and that's where I got a lot of my equipment. I know that if they hadn't taken care of all the medical bills, my family would be in pretty poor straits right now, and I'm grateful for that.
The biggest hassle is all the red tape. You get so tired of signing your name and filling out forms and writing down the same things time after time.
This is about a fourth of the correspondence that I've sent to Denver and Twill Army Depot regarding my injury. I was in a cast from here down to my knees for 4.5 months, yet it was up to me to prove that I'd injured myself on the job.
These papers here show that why we have a shortage of paper in this country anymore. And it's all tied up in the court cases like this.
And I usually keep a duplicate of everything I sent to them because they have a habit of losing it.
You can sit and watch somebody put something in the mail and know that they mail it, but yet the people over in Denver say they have never got it.
Those papers was conveniently lost or just done away with.
Usually takes at least 2 to 3 weeks for a reply. And all this time, you're waiting for some money so you can feed your family.
Been for my wife working, I don't know what I'd do.
If it hadn't been for the generosity of my friends, I don't know what I'd have done.
Maybe even worse than the lack of money and waiting for your first check If you are called back to work, the indignities you go through, they offer you sometimes jobs that are real low in pay, just bare minimum, no chance for advancement or anything, just so they can fulfill their obligations.
The personnel director took me into his office and expressed disgust towards me for filing the suit.
They refused to move me to an area where the physical stress was less, at OB, pediatrics, ER, OR, recovery room.
And it was really a weird situation. Here I was suing a company that I was working for still. After the diagnosis of the decalcification of my 2 fingers here, they took me out of the area of the vinyl chloride and I was placed into an area of handling more chemicals. And then 6 months later, the encephalitis. When I returned to work after that, 6 months later, I was placed into the laboratory, more chemicals yet. I really got paranoid about chemicals at this time, and you know, it added to the mental strain I was already under. Actually, when I did finally sign the settlement and sign this resignation, which was part of the settlement, it was like taking a breath of fresh air. I was never so relieved in my life.
Workman's compensation has been pressuring me to sign off, sign a release, where they would just give me $14,000 to pay for the loss of my leg, and that would be it.
He was going to eventually take me off from workman's comp. So I went and hired an attorney. It worried me because I was unable to work.
Then's when I decided it was a lot easier to quit my job than to go blind. But it wasn't long after that I got me a lawyer.
My attorney informed me that I would have to settle with him through cash.
I've received an amount and I'm going to have to plan my life around it. I don't see that as a detriment to me at all. I see it as a starting point where I've wiped the slate clean.
So it was all arranged that I should have a settlement of $1,400. And I didn't think that was quite enough to pay for all the pain I'd had and all the pain I was going to keep on having, but the lawyer informed me that I just as well settled. There was no more to be done.
And once you sign that paper, that settles you for any other settlements that you can get. You're through.
I'm not ready to sign off because I don't have any training. All I've got is a high school education. And I'm limited as to what sort of jobs that I can do.
So whatever you do, don't sign no papers, do not quit your job, and don't make a statement to the state that you're done.
I don't know. I felt a relief when I did sign the papers. But I knew also at the time that I was basically being kind of forced into signing them. They wouldn't allow me to come back to work the last month and a half, and I was paid $73 a week. So financially, I couldn't stand it. And so when they said that, hey, you know, you sign the papers and sign this release here, releasing us from all further claims, then you got your money. Well, you know, along with this resignation, they didn't want me around. You know, since then, I've been hospitalized 4 times with stomach problems due to a liver bile problem, and the liver problem was directly related to the encephalitis and the vinyl chloride and all these other chemicals. So I've lost a lot of coin. I've lost more than the $14,000 I've received from them.
I sued the railroad for $260,000, and I was awarded $47,000. Out of the $47,000, I received $25,000. It was amount of $6,000.
They wanted to settle for $10,000, and that's less than a year's pay.
I'm getting $20,000 after attorney's fees. This will be the first time since 1966 when I have been out of debt. My outlook on life is great.
I had $7,000, and when I was 19, I didn't know any more about what to do with $7,000 than anything, so I couldn't go out and work, so I lived on it.
If you do have a legitimate claim against a company that you work for or have worked for, by all means, seek out legal aid.
Yeah, there's people out there that's drawing compensation that shouldn't have compensation. They don't deserve it. As far as I'm concerned, they're more handicapped than I am. I don't need the money from the government because I can earn my own living. But when people are phony about being hurt just to draw money, that's taking money from people that really need it.
Friends say to me, well, you've got a hell of a good deal going. You know, why would you want to go back to work when you can sit back and collect $800 a month tax-free? And which sounds good, but you know, you can't just sit back and let it come in. You've got to make progress.
I have worked now for 40 years, and I'm not trying to get a handout. I don't want no free gratis.
I'm very proud of my work record. And in fact, I said if I wasn't crippled up, I wouldn't be here. And
I think what they want, basically, is just to have a chance to be back where they were and they can have something to look forward to. Maybe not get ahead, but at least be equal to what they were when they were hurt.
On every job application that I've ever filled out, one question is, have you ever filed a workman's compensation suit? Or have you ever received workman's compensation? If I say yes, I feel that I've lost some jobs because of this.
Well, what I want is my job back. I just feel like that I've been discriminated against. Well, in 1975, Labor Day, I wasn't on duty. We went out and got in a pickup, and I just blacked out. When I woke up, I was in an ambulance. I was on medications for 1 year. Since that 1 year, I have not been on medications. I haven't had another seizure. And all this time, I've had, well, I'd be safe in saying at least 40 physical examinations. And every one of them has given me a clean bill of health. I've never had as much as a dizzy spell. And I feel that there's nothing wrong with me, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be returned to work. There's been statements made that one reason that I haven't been called back to work is because I had a previous lawsuit. So I've also turned it over to some more attorneys. I don't think it's what you know down here on the railroad. I think it's who you know.
I would be considered stupid, I suppose, by a lot of people, because I have to hire a lawyer to unravel and decode this stuff for me.
I went ahead and signed the papers, which the lawyer said I should do.
I think the lawyers were paid off because the way they come back, they acted like they didn't care anymore. And when I first talked to them, they thought that they could do something about it.
And instead of it being in just my name, I was the one that was supposed to receive it, I thought. It had the lawyer's name on it, too, so I couldn't even cash the check.
Through my attorney, he explained to me the power that the doctors and the American Medical Association has on these kind of complaints. They are the sole judge and jury.
Once they get paid for an operation or major surgery, they don't want anything to do with you. I've been to, I think, 4 different doctors now. To change doctors, it takes sometimes up to 6 months.
If they don't get the money, they ain't going to do nothing, and that's the only thing they're in business for, is to get the money.
I had my appointment with a doctor in Salt Lake and at the Holy Cross Hospital, and another one was up on the 4th floor of the same hospital. Yet the 2 doctors couldn't even walk up 2 flights of stairs to talk with one another. They had to do the correspondence through the mail.
Doctors who diagnose the problem oftentimes are reluctant to point a finger saying that, yes, this company in fact did cause this man's emphysema or this lady's bronchitis.
My doctor helped my mom and dad probably as much as anybody pull through this thing, because they told him that there was artificial arms out on the market that would help me do just about anything that I wanted to do. And he was right, because I got an artificial arm that helps me play the guitar, which is something at the time I figured I'd never be able to do again. If you know that anything is unsafe on any job that you're doing, don't go on doing it. Make sure that the people you are working for know that this is unsafe.
and get these things corrected. If you have to sue, then sue, whatever it takes. You're not just trying to protect your own rights. It's absolutely necessary that the people who are still working in these areas that need correction, they need the protection.
Even a conscientious employer isn't in business to ensure safety. He isn't in business to make a profit.
The insurance company seems to be an scapegoat for them, so they don't have to put out the bucks.
Not saying that they don't care about the employee. That's not so. I don't feel that. They do care. After all, it's the employee that makes them the bucks.
This here part about safety is something else, because we have a safety meeting at French's at least once a month. And that is one thing they preach constantly is safety. Now, I don't call that belt where I fell being a very safe spot. And of course it wasn't, because when they come in and checked, then right away French's fixed it.
Away from the big cities, there's not much safety practice.
We had a safety man that walked around and gave out safety citations if you didn't have your hard hat on or glasses. But there was a real problem.
They'll enforce simple little laws. Make sure you have on your safety shoes, wear your safety glasses, but major safety hazards are not even investigated.
You know, this protozine that they're using in these thermothrottles, nanothrottovine, or anafrotostan. Consequently, I said, I think the urosinol is where you're losing your resistance. All this time I'm thinking of Mr. Double Talk, because that's all this official was to me, was a Mr. Double Talk. His exact words to me was, yes, Bill, I know what you mean. We are getting an inferior product now in our parts.
We always had a safety meeting. Well, at this meeting we'd have pictures. A roll showed. And sometimes it was on their time, and sometimes it wasn't. It was during lunchtime.
I want to make it clear that Sparrow teaches classes in nursing techniques and body mechanics and teaching you how to move a patient. But I am a 220-pound male ex-military corpsman.
Took it easy. Didn't take any big chances. So I really didn't think that anything like this could happen.
It's a fairly dangerous job. The danger is always there. And you realize it when you take the job, that you could get hurt, and you have to look at it from the point of view that it'll happen to someone else.
You're working in the air. You're working where nobody else wants to work because of the dangers that the work is inherent to. You feel a little special. As far as safety goes, the men on the job itself are the one to implement the safety. But we do have more checks and balances now than when Dad was working the trade.
Back then, we had no safety regulations. You either took care of yourself or you were out of luck.
If the men working for the railroad, I mean the men running these trains, if they didn't use their own initiative, if they depended on a supervision down here, if they put down every violation that's on these trains, if they lived up to that rule book down there, you'd never turn a wheel. What management wants you to do is to bend the rules.
You break one and live one, and break one, or live two and break three, or whatever, you know.
A working man is caught between two things. He either does what they ask him to, or he loses his job. What OSHA was put out for was a good thing, but it's not enforced.
We do have OSHA. You can get a hold of them without fear of losing your job, and they can come in and look into the possibility of it being unsafe. Whereas it used to be that you didn't have no one to turn to. If your employer wouldn't back you in your situation, then you just didn't have no other place to go other than quit.
Well, when they have these OSHA inspectors come in, I don't think they should know who they are, when they're coming in, or anything. But I don't think that they should be looking for little penny-ante things.
Such as an OSHA man trying to tell a farmer how to clean his barn. I think that's kind of baloney.
Safety on a federal installation is not like on an outside job. You're not allowed to have any OSHA inspector. Depot people investigate it. They say everything's fine.
I feel that without OSHA, the working man and woman does not stand a chance.
You got to have someone in a position higher than the employer and yourself that you can rely on to ensure your safety.
I'm kind of concerned about the union part of it. I do know that they are supposed to make transactions or agreements with companies where that they profess safety. But on the job like that, it don't seem like that they have the manpower, or they want to put the manpower there to see that people work in safe conditions.
We have a woman in our union here that, well, if I'd have went to her before I quit my job, which was very foolish, she would have told me how foolish I was. She was very angry and provoked. The union couldn't help me, and the job definitely wouldn't.
I'll tell them to their face what I think about a man that's a deserter or a draft dodger. He's the same kind of a character as a right to worker. He wants it all, but he don't want to fight for it. People that take part in elections and stuff instead of staying home watching their favorite gangbusters or Mickey Rooney show.
I feel that an employee safety council would be the most effective way of dealing with safety problems in not just your large plants or chemical plants or mines or just about any industry.
The man that helped me when I lost my arm was made a safety officer, and that's good. I appreciate that. But people that are hurt on the job, if they would make them safety officers too, the safeties around the plant would probably be a lot better.
I got caught in the rotary table of the drilling rig, and it folded my leg backwards at the knee, totally dislocating my knee and causing a blood clot, which resulted in the loss of my leg below the knee.
And we had to cross over a belt. Where the boxes was coming through was the only way we could get to go to break. I caught my leg on a box that was coming across on the belt, and it threw me. Then I was out for quite some time.
What I did was walk behind the bed, reached over the top of the bed, and tried to grab this guy by his armpits and lift him up into the bed. It was a mistake from the beginning.
And I slipped in the trench, twisted my knee, and tore all the cartilage loose.
And I started cleaning the machine out, and he turned the switch on. Well, it pulled me in. He turned the machine off when it was about halfway between my wrist and my elbow, and I couldn't pull out. And he turned the machine on again. I don't know why. As soon as he turned it off the second time, well, I pulled out of it, which was fortunate because it was just almost ready to heat me up.
Twill Army Depot from out there, the mountains, clear up to the mountains up here, that's where we was working when we got hurt.
I was working a graveyard shift, and there's a big puddle of oil right in front of the light switch, and I slipped in it, fell, landed on my lower back.
And I fell backwards down a safety ladder, safety platform ladder, landed on my back and arm and damaged 3 vertebrae in my neck.
The last time I injured my back, I was working at the Dugway Proving Ground. I slipped on some ice, fell down, injured my back.
He couldn't get the pin out of the fire extinguisher, so as soon as I opened the doors, I guess it just gave it oxygen with the flame, but the crankcase exploded, and it spewed me with hot oil and bent me over backwards over the guardrail around the side of the unit.
Well, I was under the boom, and I knocked the bottom pins out without undoing the pennant lines, which was, according to all mathematics, is absolutely wrong. You can't do that. There's too much pressure on the pins. But it happened, and when it came down, it came right down around my neck and crushed me down into the ground.
Unknown to me, he was a carrier of hepatitis. I gave this child enemas on a number of occasions, and somehow contacted the disease. I feel that it was very unfair that I was not informed at any time that this was a possibility.
6 months later, I started to have spells of passing out, severe migraine-type headaches, and temporary blindness. 3 months later, in a coma at UCLA, it was, my family was told that I was toxic on chemicals and that the only diagnosis that they can come up with is a broad term known as encephalitis.
I was the last maintenance man that was hired there for 7.5 years. Consequently, that left me the low man on the totem pole, or the guy that got all the bad, dirty jobs. The disease that I have contacted is evidently called Parkinson's disease, but it's really Parkinson's syndrome. It's caused by chronic exposures to carbon monoxide gases and other chemicals.
I don't remember the accident itself. I was told what happened. I kind of blacked out. They told me that I was driving a forklift truck back to the garage, and I was making a left-hand turn and I flipped over, and I was caught underneath it. And as a result, I had a spinal cord injury to my neck, which left me paralyzed from my shoulders down.
It's true, big industry keeps the wheels of progress moving, but those same wheels tend to run over and crush the working man. If he's hurt or disabled because of this industry, it's awfully easy to push him aside and pick up another young man willing to take the chances.
That's what I looked like when I took my wife to Hawaii 3 years ago. This is what I look like today. I told the guys at the union meeting that take a damn good look at me because you could be next. You're not exempt from such stuff as this.
It can't happen to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, blue, gray, or green. It's just one of those things in life that happens now.